Hey Ford. So I'm scratching my head all online, trying to figure out why the fuck does Ford have different installed heights on their exhaust and intake spring. You notice the intake spring is a lot longer than the exhaust spring. You also notice the spring retainers are different. And you also notice the valves themselves are placed differently on the retainer. This one's a little higher and the exhaust is a little shorter. The spring itself on the intake side is a longer spring. All right, with that all in mind, and you sitting right here, however long you want to stare at this shit. I've been staring at it for a while because I've been pouring these out. So if you got that on your hands, just give that a quick thought and a quick stare. Okay. Ford, why didn't you just do this? See how all the installed heights are the same? See that? These are stock valve springs. These are stock retainers. These are stock valves. Yep. You see the gap in between those springs? See the gap in between those? You won't run into any coil bind. Running stockish cam, mildish cam, you're not, I mean, if you're going to the moon and you're trying to go drag racing, don't do this. But if you just want a little more pressure on your seats, maybe you did a little porting, you try this out before you go buy valves, retainers, and springs. This will save you about $1,700 just doing this. Ford, I see what you're doing, trying to preserve the life. I read online, these are like spinner retainers that spin and keep the lifespan of the valve and whatnot. I just did a valve job on these. I'm not worried about the lifespan on these, and they do still retain those spinning retainers, but I'm not too concerned about the longevity. I'm just pouring these out, trying to get a few more ponies out of her. But check that out. Perfect. Just a little mod. You could tell, got this mod, you just look at the tips of the valves. You can see it's exposed over there, but that's not impeding on anything. Over here, the tips of the valves, they're fairly even, but the spring rates are totally different on the intake and exhaust on the stock setup. And with the mod, you'll pick up about 10 more pounds of spring pressure on the stock spring. Don't do this if you've got some rowdy cam, and I'm sure if you got some rowdy cam already, you probably got a bucket list of parts that you're already spending. So this is just if you're a mild guy, you just want a few extra things with what you got. This is what I'm doing. Ported the heads, flip the springs around. I used all of the longer springs. So these are all of the tall springs that I'm using. These are no short springs. These are all the tall springs that have a little more pressure. So to retain the taller springs, all those short springs that they got thrown out. I'm lucky enough to have another engine sitting over there. Parts that I had some other stock valve springs off of E7. These are GT40Ps. They got the exact same rocker, spring package and everything. So I was able to use those springs. I can only use one side because I only need the long side. So try this out if you want to bump up your spring pressure and get them all even. You know, it's a great upgrade. Doesn't cost you a dime. Save you about I ain't gonna calculate it, but a lot of money you're saving right here. Little work, a little time, but it's worth it. For a mild setup, you just got like maybe an E-cam, and you may be running into some valve float. Try this before you go, you know, dumping your paycheck on some valve springs and saving up, you know, for valve springs and shit. You know, just try this. You know, the stock setup on the E7 is the same way as the GT40. It's just like a head scratcher. Like, why did Ford do that? I tried looking it up. Didn't really come up with anything. All I read was the rotating. It's got a rotating exhaust retainer. Now the exhaust retainers are flipped to the intake side, and the intake side is flipped to the exhaust to give me a little more pressure. Just take a look at it. It's just with all the long springs. Yep. You just look down in there. Shave that boss off them exhaust ports, off the exhaust valve. I mean, they usually come with a big neck on the exhaust. See that step? It's got a big step on the exhaust valve. I just shave that down. These should give me some power, man. Just with a little time. I should be pushing, man. Later.